Make sure to subscribe and turn on the notifications so you can be alerted when new content is released. Enjoy the video.
Well, you think about breaking an addiction to, say, something like chocolate, okay? We'll just use this as an example. If you're addicted to chocolate and I slid a chocolate cake in front of you, the moment you saw that chocolate cake, your brain would start saying, oh my God, I want a piece of chocolate. Everybody else is eating chocolate. It's not that bad for you. I can start tomorrow. And your body would automatically, physiologically respond in the presence of that chocolate cake without your conscious mind. In other words, if you're addicted, it's going to happen automatically. So then, if you broke the addiction to the chocolate cake, literally did not have any addiction any longer, if I slid that chocolate cake in front of you, you could eat it or not eat it, and you would have no response, okay? In other words, you would have no physiological... Your conscious mind and your subconscious mind would really be working together. But when you're addicted, your body has become the mind, and your body is overriding the conscious brain. But if you're addicted to certain emotions in your life, I don't know, guilt or shame or unworthiness or insecurity or rage or frustration, then by definition of the quantum model, we use the people and conditions in our life to reaffirm our emotional addictions so that we can remember who we are as a somebody. So then when people go with their conscious will, like they make a declaration, I'm going to be no longer a victim today, I'm going to live in a state of grace, they start out with really good intentions, but remember, if the body's become the mind and it's not getting its emotional addiction, the body's going to send signals to the brain, and then you walk back into your life and you see the person that you use to reaffirm your guilt or your frustration, just like being in the presence of the chocolate cake. The moment you see that person, if you're addicted to that emotion and you're using them to reaffirm it, just like being in the presence of the chocolate cake, your body's going to physiologically, automatically, subconsciously return back to the old chemical self. In other words, you're going to go unconscious. So it takes an act of willfulness to make the choice. And as we talk in a little bit, when we make a choice to change, we have to make a choice that has such an amplitude or intensity of energy that the amplitude of choice becomes the experience that literally begins to be greater than the hardwired programs in the brain and the emotional addictions in the body, and the body has to respond to a new mind. In other words, the hair on the back of your neck has to stand up, and the body, as the animal, has to say, uh-oh, she's serious this time. It's not you sitting on the couch with your smartphone here and your computer here and your remote control and your I think I'm going to change tomorrow. The body's like, relax, she's lying to herself again. Nothing's going to change. So the act of willfulness is one component. But what our research shows is that where the programs exist, they exist in the subconscious, right? And it's in the body mind. So then the purpose of meditation, as we talked about last time, is to get beyond the conscious mind, past the analytical mind, into the subconscious mind where those programs exist. And that's the purpose of meditation, to get beyond the analytical mind. Now you're in the operating system. And so as you become conscious of your unconscious thoughts, as you begin to pay attention to your behaviors and notice your emotions, you're actually going into the operating system and bringing them to your conscious awareness. Why? Because you don't want those to slip by your awareness ever again. So then when you begin to decide then how you do on a program, and you begin to teach your body emotionally what wealth feels like, what freedom feels like, what nobility is like, when you begin to plan your behaviors in your day, the act of rehearsing who you're going to be installs the neurological circuits in your brain. You're priming your brain so you have something to use when you open your eyes. And when you begin to think about what thoughts you do want to think about and fire and wire in your brain, how you think, how you act, and how you feel is your personality, and your personality creates your personal reality. Now, your job is to get up from your meditation differently than when you sat down, and you have to be in a new state of being, so that when you walk back into your life and you've overcome your guilt or you've overcome your frustration, and the body's no longer living in the past, it's now living in the future. The moment that happens, you can walk in the presence of your greatest adversary, your greatest enemy, the person you use to reaffirm your addiction, and you have no physiological response anymore because you did the work to overcome yourself. Well, 95% of who we are by the time we're 35 years old is a set of memorized behaviors and emotional reactions, beliefs, perceptions, attitudes, that functions subconsciously like an automatic program. I mean, literally, the body has been conditioned to be the mind. So if 95% of who you are by the time you're 35 years old is redundant autopilot behaviors, that's what a habit is, and you walk into your life and you're going to try to change and use the 5% of your conscious mind, and there's no emotional quotient to really teach the body, then the moment you have a stray thought or the moment you react to something in your life, you just press play. So you may, have 2 glasses of wine and we'll be walking home and you need money and you go to your ATM machine and you look at the ATM numbers and you're like, I can't remember my numbers. But you walk over and you look at the keypad and all of a sudden your fingers dial the number. Well, how did you do that? You couldn't consciously remember it, but you practiced it so many times that your body knew better than your brain. That's who we are.
Yes.
So there's a program to brush your teeth, there's a program to comb your hair, there's a program to drive a car, there's a program to speak a language, there's a program to complain, there's a program to judge others, there's a program to push to the front of the line, there's a program to compete. That's the culture. So then you put yourself in the culture where all of that's normal and acceptable and everybody else is doing it and the current's going this way and you're trying to swim upstream. Then it takes a certain amount of awareness then to go against what feels so natural. Like, this is so unnatural. Well, that's my definition of genius, being uncomfortable and being okay with it. When I'm uncomfortable and okay with it, I know I'm crossing the river of change. And when you're crossing that river, most people say, I can't predict my future because they can't predict their guilt or their frustration. But the best way to predict your future when you're in that unknown is to create it. Now's the time. You're in fertile ground. You're in the uncertainty principle. You're in the unknown. That's where all possibility exists. So right outside of a comfort zone, right outside of that known, right outside of that comfort zone is where the magic happens. So we have to teach people to become comfortable in that void. And when they're comfortable in that void, then they're in the place where, oh gosh, now I'm in the unknown. And so you and I have been hypnotized and conditioned to believing that the unknown is bad. And if you're living by the hormones of stress, if you're living by aggression and anger and war and frustration and hatred and all of those, fear and anxiety and sadness and guilt and shame, the unknown is a scary place, and there's better chances in survival in antiquity from running from the unknown. So if you're living by a lower denominator of those survival emotions, then everybody will always cling to the known. So then tell me, how does the new experience happen? So then when we break the addictions to those emotions, then when you truly free yourself from the chains of the past and the body liberates energy and you feel lifted and joyful and inspired and you're seeing a whole new landscape, a whole new horizon, that creative state, then now you're going to select an unknown, and the unknown is going to become an adventure. Now that concept of stepping out into the unknown and trusting yourself, trusting in possibility, trusting in the unknown, that's the natural state of being. But if you watch enough news and you're conditioned that you need a certain hairstyle or a certain look and to look, anemic and underweight and emaciated, and that's beauty, and everybody else is trying to do the same, chasing false ideals or macho or whatever people, how we're being conditioned, to go against that really then means that you have to learn a bit of knowledge about yourself and the true nature of who we are, that we are greater or other than our body, we're greater than our environment, and we live beyond time. And when you get to that point to understand that you're a consciousness now, using the brain and body to create different levels of mind to experience the canvas of life, then you start to ask yourself then, there's got to be more. Who am I? Why am I doing this? What is our meaning in life? Those fundamental questions are when the soul begins to wake up. It's a scientific fact that the hormones of stress push the genetic buttons that create disease, because no organism in nature can live in emergency mode all the time. So if you're anticipating some worst case scenario or remembering some event from your past, worry or suffering or whatever, then you're turning on the stress response just by thought alone. And if those chemicals of stress are highly addictive, you become addictive to your thoughts. So then if you're addicted to your thoughts and those thoughts can make you sick, the question is, can your thoughts make you well? The number one reason for people living in physical imbalance is because of the hormones of stress. 75 to 90% of every person that walks into a healthcare facility is walking in because of a stress-related disorder. And the longer we live by stress, the more disease will become. And I don't care what drug, what surgery you do, until you take care of the cause of that problem, then, when Jesus healed his people, he said, sin no more. What he meant was change your attitude. I got a busy day today. I got a crucifixion coming up. I got a mother who's worried about me. I got 12 guys who have no idea what I'm talking about. If you don't change your attitude, I'm going to have to come back and do this again. So I think people have to realize that we're a cause of all of this and start taking our power back. Instead of believing that everybody has the answers, start finding out for yourself the truth behind it and start making your own personal. You would see the effects. Be the scientist in your life.
Yeah.
And never wait for science to give you permission to do the uncommon.
Exactly.
Do the uncommon and do it consistently, and then have science come and measure you. And